And my thoughts are with all the girls from the team and all their support staff, and of course the families and friends of those girls. So our thoughts are with them.
You know, what we're doing is sport. We will do it because we love it, and you know, it's very tragic when you're taken like that, doing something you love. Yeah, it'd be hard to race today.
After a day of rest, the Tour de France stays in the southwest of the country, and the riders will do a loop from the town of Moronx to the finish line here in Pau, a total distance of 180.5 kilometres. There are 4 category climbs, the highest being the Hors category up the Col d'Aubisque. This was the scene at the start village in the town of Moronx. Another big day in the making as Lance Armstrong and Jan Ullrich prepare for battle. Big crowds greeted the riders, the biggest cheers for Ivan Basso and Alexander Vinokourov. After the rollout, the attack started to form. One rider having trouble in this tour is Brad McGee. A group of 14 escaped, in it Australia's Cadel Evans. And after clearing the Category 1 Col de Marie Blanc, the signs looked good for Australia's most promising mountain climber. Paul Sherwin and Phil Liggett take up the commentary.
Now this looks very much like the shape of Cadel Evans. Well, this is pretty remarkable. Cadel Evans the other day said he'd never attacked in a big stage race, but he was going to do so.
Well, we've gone up to the leaders here, Paul, and this is an interesting move from Cadel Evans, because Cadel was looking for the early move. He said so before the start. He got into it, and remember, he is 11th overall at the moment. 12 minutes 57 behind Lance Armstrong in his first Tour de France.
Well, this is a great move here by Cadel Evans, and it was funny, a couple of days ago he said, well, I've never really attacked in a big race before. He says, what I normally do is just sit there and everybody just falls away from me, but before the end of the Tour de France, I'm going to go out on the attack and see how it feels, and what a great day to do it.
Now, let me say, Serrano, Pereiro and Mazzolini are in the chase group further up the road. Rodriguez joined them, coming from the leaders back to the chase, and I'm not sure where he is at the moment. But from those leaders, Cadel Evans has gone 4th on his own. And here he is. And he's trying desperately now to... It's an awful long time trial to the finish. 78 kilometres. He's just on, what will it be, 7 kilometres still to climb here on the Aubisque. But this is a man who is going to finish the mountains of the Tour de France, obviously feeling strong. We've always said over the years that when he came to the Tour de France, he would be a player, Cadel Evans, and he's certainly not letting us down.
Yes, they are once again sliding backwards, and that's, you can see Jan Ullrich right in the middle there. Right on his tail is the yellow jersey of Lance Armstrong. Again, T-Mobile are trying to do what they can to put a lot of pressure and isolate Armstrong on this last mountain stage. And by the way, although the race is rather complicated, Cadel Evans is the leader, chased by a group of 9 riders. Then there's a group of 3 riders a little bit further back, Pereiro, Serrano and Eddie Mazzolini. Freddie Rodriguez has been caught in the middle there, still trying to get across the gap is Alexander Vinokourov. He's chased by Roberto Heras, and then we've got that yellow jersey group which contains Armstrong, Ullrich and the rest. This is Alexander Vinokourov. He's catching Fast Freddie there, Freddie Rodriguez. He was in that early breakaway which was made up of 11 riders, but he's just been caught and passed fairly dramatically by the man who is the champion of Kazakhstan, Alexander Vinokourov, 8th at the start of today. Landis and Leipheimer and Mancebo, so all the top men in the overall classification, very much present and correct, as Armstrong has a teammate here who's just had a quick word with and said, come on, pick up the pace, let's put these boys in order. After all, Team Discovery Channel is the strongest team in the race, and they proved that just a couple of days ago. Now this is Big George, and rather interesting, you know, just the other day after Hincapie won his stage, Armstrong said, if you ask me whether or not George Hincapie could win the Tour de France one day, I would say yes, he could, but he'd have to stop riding the one-day races in April and May.
Well, I don't think, in all honesty, Paul, I've ever seen Jan Ullrich quite so animated in any Tour de France. He's really into it now these last few days.
He is, and look at this. This is the man who's responding to all of these attacks, and he's dragging the polka dot jersey across with him there of Michael Rasmussen, and the 2 riders getting caught out a little bit by that acceleration, Levi Leipheimer and Floyd Landis. But this This has got to be the Tour de France, Phil, where Armstrong has been attacked the most over the last couple of seasons.
They've never given up. I know that they're racing really also for the second place podium finish between 4 riders, possibly 5 or 6, but we'll wait and see as the split comes here now. Landis is got, and there's Leipheimer, Mancebo, they got caught there. This is the advanced group. I don't think Fred will want to get mixed up in this somehow.
No, I think he'd be quite happy to let them go by. Freddie is a sprinter. He was a man who was responsible for a couple of the victories of Robbie McEwen. He's Robbie McEwen's lead-out man on the flat stages. He got in that early breakaway. He actually did a lot of work in the early breakaway to set something up for his teammate, Cadel Evans, who currently is the lone leader on the race. He went off the front and left that leading group of 9 riders. But Roberto Heras here is actually riding himself across the gap to join up with Alexander Vinokourov, who too is looking at, in fact, trying to get himself a higher place in the overall classification than his current 8th.
Well, a good pair of legs coming up to help out Alexander Vinokourov there. Roberto Heras moving up alongside him. Cadel Evans up there, I think, putting in the finest performance we've seen from an Australian since the halcyon days of their greatest ever cyclist in the Tours, Phil Anderson. Anderson rode the Tour 13 times, finished every one. He won the white jersey, he also wore the yellow jersey. This guy is always criticised for something or other. They're coming up on Vinokourov and Roberto Heras now, but there's only 4 of them coming up. Motorbikes need to move now as Lance Armstrong shepherds through Ulrich, Basso and Rasmussen, and just getting back as well, Leipheimer, Mancebo and Floyd Landis.
Well, Heras has tried again on the slopes of the Pyrenees to do something for his Spanish public, but he's not been able to because of the battle going on for a high podium finish. There you can see Jan Ullrich will not give up arms until the final day of the Tour de France here this year. Mancebo's in a spot of bother here at the back. Hincapie's disappeared.
Did you see Vinokourov drop back and hook up there with Ullrich? The first sign of friendship between the two, actually, because Vinokourov was happy to take up the pacemaking. There he is with Jan. Just look at the scenery off the shoulder of Cadel Evans. He is almost at the summit. A big feather in his cap here as winner of this all-category climb. He won't be denied that now. Armstrong has decided to say, hey, guys, if you want to do this, I'll come and join in. Look at this.
This is going to be, Phil, the last big mountain of Lance Armstrong's career, and he wants to show these guys that he's still got a little bit of petrol left in the tank as we go to the summit of the climb, and Cadel Evans is going to go over the top with around about a 4-minute advantage over the Lance Armstrong yellow jersey group.
And I tell you what, look at his face. This guy is strong today. He is really driving. He's not hanging. He is pushing on here. Cadel Evans isn't thinking of waiting at the top of the Col d'Aubisque. He's going for the win.
He is going for the win. It's going to be a very long solo for him to do it, because from the summit of this, Phil, I don't think I've ever seen Cadel Evans' face look like that. It is screwed up in pain and determination. This is Oscar Pereiro. Yep, this is a complicated race here this afternoon because there are riders scattered all over the slopes of this mountain. Pereiro is motivated by the fact he was beaten a couple of days ago to the summit of the big climb Pla d'Adet, and what he wants to do today, I think, is to try and get himself the stage victory. And he's actually going over the summit there in 2nd place, so he's passed the group of the early morning breakaway, which was initially 11 riders.
When we use the word complicated, we usually mean we haven't a clue what's going on, because frankly, Pereiro, we were never told he'd gone past the group, but he's gone over the top in 2nd place. This will be for 3rd place now. This is Mazzolini. So whatever happened to the breakaway, they've caught and been dropped by this group as Mazzolini goes over there as well.
And the next group of these, you can see now, are starting to be the survivors, Phil, of that early morning breakaway. He'd said he wanted to win himself one of the average mountain stages. He was very aggressive early on in the year in Paris-Nice. And again, Alexander Vinokourov is whacking them.
I make this his 3rd serious move today since the race started to get rid of the group. They brought him back twice. He's trying again.
But look at Armstrong. Whenever Vinokourov attacks, he never chases him down. He doesn't have to, because Vinokourov is almost 10 minutes behind Armstrong in the overall classification. Again here, Phil, remnants of the early morning breakaway. That is Gilbert, the man from Française des Jeux, on the front, better suited as a sprinter on the flat stages. And the man with him, Juan Antonio Fletcher.
As he now, there's Chris Horner going through. He was a part of the break and about to be picked up by Armstrong. Good place to get caught, because now they're together on the descent.
Well, it's a good place to get caught because now we've got a bit of a false flat on the first part of the descent down off the Col d'Aubisque. and then just a little bit of a kick of a kilometre or so up to the summit of the Col de Soulor, and then a long 20-kilometre descent down into the valley.
In the old days, the Col de Soulor was good enough for points in the King of the Mountains. It's nothing this time.
Well, it depends which way you go over the Col de Soulor, but this way it's only really a climb of around about a couple of kilometres or so. But you can see the clouds here starting to drift down over the summit of this high Pyrenean mountain this afternoon. There is Didier Roos coming up. There is Michael Rogers. So Michael Rogers, there is Stuart O'Grady moving up to the front. So O'Grady and Moncoutier. Team Cofidis have said that over the last 6 days of the Tour de France, they've been out and they've won themselves individual glory, with a win going to their man David Moncoutier on the 14th of July, Bastille Day. But from now all the way up to the finish line in Paris, the race is for one man. The race is for a man by the name of Stuart O'Grady from Adelaide. And O'Grady, if he can get points today, he will get points ahead of Thor Hushovd and ahead of Robbie McEwen, who currently are quite a long way behind in the overall classification and a long way behind on today's stage. So the lone leader, Cadel Evans, a former wearer of the pink jersey in the Giro d'Italia, started the day here at the Tour de France in 11th place overall. But today, not only is he motivated by the sadness that has fallen over Australian cycling in the last 24 hours, but he's also motivated by trying to move himself up into a top position in the top 10 at the end of the day. Armstrong not taking any risks at all, and that's why I think it will give a lot of riders here a very good chance to actually come back. He's having a little chat there with Ulrich. They don't want to take too many risks. They've had a big battle. Here comes Hincapie. He's back in the fold, and very shortly I think we will see 2 more riders from Discovery Channel reintegrating into this group.
Saying goodbye today on the descent here now of the Col de Soulor. That was Pereiro chasing in 2nd place.
Well, Pereiro's chasing. There's a rider just in front of him. The race situation tells us that Cadel Evans is leading ahead of Pereiro, and then a little bit further back there are 2 other riders, Zandio and Mazzolini. Then it's a little bit further back to Marcos Serrano. So I wonder if Pereiro here is about to make the junction with Cadel Evans. Now that would indicate that he has gone down this hill like an absolute maniac. Huge crowds out here for this final big Pyrenean climb of this year's Tour de France, but there are still an awful lot of very difficult roads to go before we get to the finish, and the most difficult, I would say, would have to be the mountain top finish in Mende. On that occasion, well up in the Massif Central, we actually finish on an aerodrome, and that's where back in, I think it was 1995, Laurent Jalabert was the winner for France on Bastille Day.
Well, let's hope that he doesn't crash this time, as Eddie Mazzolini, a bit further back down the road, continues his descent with Zandio. Well, he's ridden, we could see the caution today, both on the climbs when he rode out the sight of the leaders, so he could see where he was racing, and on the descent here, he is just free-wheeled and made no effort whatsoever.